Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so I just wanted to do a real quick stream. A sip on a Monster, have a little vapey vape, and talk about the news from Nintendo. And maybe play a little Shadows of the Empire in the meantime, you know. But so today, Nintendo put out kind of, I guess what you would say, you know, an official statement concerning pre-orders. Pretty interesting stuff. What up, Raymond Roman? So with the fiasco of the Walmart pre-orders, kind of doing us dirty, you know, canceling on us. What the hell is that kind of nonsense? You know what I mean? But who knows what the specific reason was? A glitch, somebody fooling with us, them jumping the gun and then getting blasted by Nintendo. Who knows? You know, maybe they knew what their allocation was, maybe they didn't. I have no idea. But it kind of sucked for those of us who got in on it. Walmart's dead to you. Yeah, Walmart's dead to a lot of us, but you know, it is unfortunate that that had occurred. But Nintendo put out a statement today saying pretty much late August is when pre-orders are going to be available. So with that said, you know, they also stated that, hey, they're ramping up production. There's going to be a literal shit ton of them on day one, and then going through till the end of the year. But then you got to think, it comes out September 29th. So September 29th, you know, October, November, December, you got 3 months of chances to buy this thing. And you guys already know the holiday season is, you know, where I'm at anyway. I'm sure where all you guys are at. It's freaking nuts, man. Shit's no fun. Just not fun at all. You know, luckily there's, you know, we recently moved to the area we're in a few years ago, and there's a Best Buy just down the street. And Black Friday for Best Buy is not bad. Like over here where we used to live, it was crazy. You'd have people getting into fights and whatnot. But over here, it's not too bad. But there's still people over here who go on the hunt for these hot items. You know, what was the one last year? Hatchimals. You know, you had the Hatchimals, the NES Classic. I can't even remember what else were the hot toys. But it's going to be the same thing this year. What else is there that's going to be hot? I don't know as far as kids' toys go. I have kids, and they're into all sorts of random stuff, so it's always hard to say. You know, but then, you know, something like this, the SNES Classic, is going to be hot regardless of how many they put out there. You know, they only put out like 10 NES Classics last time. And they're ramping up production on the SNES Classic, so they might have 12 or 13 to go around. Who knows? But what I wanted to talk about was, you know, pretty much with Nintendo putting out this statement that, hey, pre-orders are going to be going up toward late August. So that could be, you know, last week of August anytime. I'm not 100%, but, you know, they didn't put out a date or anything like that. So who the heck knows? But it should probably be the last week of August. So I'm sure what it turned into was allocation issues and wanting to make sure that the allocations are set in order for people to take pre-orders. Yeah, you know, the warehouse with the, you know, Amazon doing the treasure trucks. That was kind of interesting. I've never heard of that before. But, you know, wouldn't that be a bitch? You know, they hold back this hot item for this year. And I don't care about the holidays. I don't want it for the holidays. But, you know, they hold them back to do bundles, or Amazon does their treasure truck. You know, what kind of nonsense is that? You know, then we're not getting it in a timely manner. But it's just going to be crazy. But there's going to be definite ways to try to keep tabs on this. One of the places that I highly recommend is going to be nowinstock.net. And I'm going to paste that into the chat. So if you guys have not already joined up, if you guys have not already joined up on nowinstock.net, keep tabs on there, especially to get the 411 to find out, you know, sometimes people get little heads up on information there. Sometimes, you know, companies will pop up the pre-orders and you can get an alert through there and jump on there right away. So nowinstock.net is where I highly recommend you going to keep tabs on that. it's just the place to go. Now, that's if you want to do an online pre-order, obviously. The other way, you know, like BrickSeek and all that, you can look at the stock in stores. That comes in handy after the fact. Yeah, Momo Slappy's the one who really knows about now in stock. He's the one who gave us the alert last time, which, you know, nothing, you know, he did nothing wrong. He did amazing work giving us all the heads up on that. It was Walmart that did us wrong, but yeah, you keep it open with the browser and alerts on. Have that banging so you can keep tabs on that. But that's going to be the best way to get a heads up on an online pre-order. It's just, I mean, that's just where it's going to be at. Amazon might put out a statement saying, hey, we're going to open up pre-orders on this date at this time. Walmart might do the same as well. Same with Target. Amazon's more known to do that kind of thing where they'll let people know ahead of time that, hey, we are going to be opening up pre-orders on a specific day or a specific time. So definitely, if you have, make sure you go to the Amazon site and put yourself on the notification list and make sure you have everything, you know, your email set to receive emails from Amazon. That way you can keep tabs on that. Yeah, at least Momo broke their website, man. That was a good thing there. Destroyed it. You know, and they didn't even, you know, there was no rectification of that issue. You know, like I said before, it's not necessarily about like, hey, you know, give us all gift cards or something, but, you know, something, you know what I mean? Like, not just, hey, sorry, better luck next time, which is pretty much all that happened. In this part, if you guys have played Shadows of the Empire, you need to take out the ATSTs first before you do the hook thing. It's just a must. You have to. But then the other thing, if you're not going to do an online pre-order, you're going to do a store pickup, just, you know, peep it out. The way I did it with the NES Classic was I called multiple places the day before and a couple days before it came out, just to see, you know, don't be bashful, don't be shy, just say, hey, bro, how many of them are you getting? What time do you open? And then just peep it out. Like, I'm not telling people to take time off of work and shit like that, but if you want to, definitely do it. But, you know, don't be shy. Call these fools, get the information. You know, obviously, you're not going to get any information right now as far as, like, release day for the most part, like, as far as allocation goes and all that kind of good stuff. But the closer we get to it, you should be able to... Come on. You should be able to get some more information, and then can kind of figure, depending upon your area, you know, how busy places get, if people are really, really into the kind of stuff and are willing to line up the night before. Where I'm at, when the NES Classic dropped, nobody lined up the night before. They all lined up in the morning. Now, oh shit. Now, when it really was evident that this was a hot item, and Best Buys would announce, hey, we're going to have stock on like whatever Sunday and stuff like that, that's when I would see people, that's when I would see people lining up the night before. And that's just crazy. I don't want to sleep outside of a store all night. You know, I will not do that for the NES Classic. I'll show up like a couple hours early if I have to. But definitely if you want to get a U.S. pre-order, that's the way to do it. Keep tabs on nowinstock.net. If you want to get one locally, check with your stores, you know, a few days before. RetroPie is all you need. RetroPie, bro. You know, RetroPie is not for everybody, man. Myself included. I mean, not that it's not for me. That's all I do is mess with the Raspberry Pi. But I do love having, you know, legit products as well. Some people are like that. Some people really want it. Some people don't. Some people are more inclined to just have their Raspberry Pi and be done with it. And that's, you know, that's awesome too. Nothing wrong with that. But there's a lot of us who really want to have a legit product made by the company, regardless if, yeah, it's only got 21 games. You know, a Raspberry Pi for, you know, less than the cost of the NES Mini, you could have a whole setup with the entire Super Nintendo lineup. We all know that. I mean, we all know that. There's no argument there. But some people just want it for a collector value or to just have a legit system made by the company. Some people, you know, those of us in the know who use Raspberry Pi, party foul, Paps, party foul. Yeah, I kind of had to do a little early one. I've got a lot of stuff to get done today, and I just wanted to talk about this topic for a moment. But yeah, that's what I was saying was, you know, there's a lot of us who are really into the system, or into Raspberry Pi anyway, and know what's up. The majority of the people who are going to buy this system are going to be people just wanting to relive some classics. Maybe they don't know about Raspberry Pi. There's still a lot of people, you'd be surprised. I talked to a lot of retro gamers that I know, and they've never even heard of Retro Pi or Raspberry Pi. It's starting to gain some more, you know, popularity, but it's not necessarily an underground thing. But there's still a lot of people who don't know what you know, the Raspberry Pi is capable of. Man, I just looked at the chat and I slammed into his leg. I mean, I will not, for the SNES Classic, I will not pay more than retail for it. You know, like I said, you could get a Raspberry Pi for less, but that's not the point, you know. The thing with emulation, and, you know, even a lot of people who are into retro games and collect systems and games and whatnot, they still play on emulators and whatnot. But for me, it's like, you know, where do you begin? If I have a system like the NES Classic that only has 30 games on it versus a Raspberry Pi where I have, you know, 700 games for that same system, I'm lost in a sense. I use the Raspberry Pi mostly for arcade stuff, and I think I've mentioned that several times before. That's mostly what I use it for. Occasionally I'll play like ROM hacks or Japanese Super Nintendo games, stuff like that. But for the most part, when I have like every game, it's hard for me to like focus on something. I mean, my NES Classic's open, and if I want to play NES games, I play it on that. Or I play it, you know, on my AVS, but yeah, man, Simbin, I fully agree with you on that. Sega, man, there's so much untapped potential there. I'm not, you know, they're the new HD version that's coming out of the At Games system. You know, there's still problems with it with all the early reviews. I really, you know, that would be awesome if Sega just took the reins and started producing shit on their own. You know, if Sega just said, hey, you know what? Yeah, we're not into the hardware producing business, but, you know, let's do an official release. You know, let's take over the manufacturing and design of a classic system. You know, that would be dope, you know? Especially if they did it where you could use cartridges still, like the way the At Games does. But At Games just does not have a good track record. And it's unfortunate. I have one of their earlier versions of the Sega Genesis system, you know, and it's okay, but it's not that great. Damn it. And then I have their handheld as well. And then with this HD Sega Classic that they're putting out, half of the games are garbage, little crap games that, you know, you mostly find on the little Chinese knockoff video game systems, like not licensed games or anything. They're just like weird little crappy games you would have found on like a Flash site back in like the mid 90s. And to me, that's lame. Like, if I'm gonna buy a Sega Classic system, I just want Sega games and third party Sega games. I don't want none of this weird little, you know, I don't even want to say indie junk, because it's not indie stuff. It's just little crappy games that somebody made in like a Chinese sweatshop computer programming place. I don't know. Tectoy does good work with their Genesis stuff, and yeah, and they did all the Sega stuff in Brazil. I've seen a lot of their stuff. I'm kind of jealous. Wish I could get my hands on, but really, Sega needs to take the reins. And all of our Beanie Babies will be worthless. What up, Apple Device Pro? I didn't recognize you there. It looks like your logo is a little changed. I still need to tweak this. I've been using Streamlabs to do some of my on my streams now. So like my chat, I'm still trying to tweak it to where it shows your full name. So I gotta look into that. I've been using Streamlabs. I have like the donation ticker and alerts and all that cool stuff going. I think it works. I don't know, but the chat, I still need to figure the chat part out. Do you know how to add music to Emulation Station? Yes, I do. I could do a tutorial video on that. Yeah, people people shrink wrapping games. I've seen that. There's this shop a couple cities away from me. I don't want to say their name because I know there are people who watch my channel who live in the same city or that the shop is in that I know about. And they're notorious for that, and I've called them out on it. They've like shrunk wrapped like Super Game Boys, systems and games. They've re-shrunk wrapped them and try selling them for new prices or inflated new prices. And I'm just like, what the hell is that? You know, that doesn't make any sense. What are the game? Yeah, it's a here. There we go. No more scan lines. Been kind of playing with this setup, trying to see the way the oh shit. See how the games look best. Been hitting up people that I know have the same setup and whatnot, trying to find the best setups for Nintendo 64 games. Oh, come on. God, I remember this game getting it I think for Christmas that year, and I think it came out like right around then. I don't even remember what year it was, but I remember getting this for Christmas and just sitting there playing the shit out of it. This game was pretty tough for me back in the day. Scan lines don't compress well on YouTube. Yeah, I mean, we could leave the scan lines off. They look all right from here, and they look all right when I look at them on YouTube, but there's a ton of options for scan lines on here. I just don't want to mess with it. Some of the games look really good. Yeah, scan lines are a preference. I don't normally use scan lines, but like I said, I just been kind of tweaking around with this system to see how they look anyway. I said I don't normally, like on Raspberry Pis and whatnot, RetroPie, I don't normally use scan lines. Giveaways, there's a few giveaways going on right now. There's the one when I hit 6,000, which is going to be pretty soon, any day now. And then the other one's for the Flirk case, which you got to look at that video. And then the other one is a Facebook group giveaway, and that has to do with the Hyperspin build. And there's multiple things I'm doing with that. I'm not sure what that pop-up was. There we go. We got a subscriber. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. Oh my God. This is like... These controls are freaking horrendous. No camera. No real camera control here. Very minor. Oh, come on. I couldn't see the guy. I couldn't see the guy. You want to get music? I'm trying to get music on the Retro Pi though. Currently adding the NES Mini theme. You can get like all sorts of different music. It's just gonna depend on what you add to the folder. There we go. I don't know why I didn't think about that before. Pressing the R button to open the damn door. Oh, hell no. Guess I don't need any of that. Boom. It's a trap. But yeah, that was what I kind of wanted to discuss was more so the Super Nintendo Mini. Nintendo putting out that statement today concerning pre-orders, which really good stuff. Oh shit, I don't know if I want to let these guys out. See, I gotta have my screen up so I can actually see. Appreciate the subscriptions, guys. Appreciate that. Really do. How many subs am I at? I'm not even sure at the moment. Just under 6,000, that's for sure. But we have a goal for 6,000. There's a giveaway. Oh, you son of a bitch. There's a giveaway, and then there's another giveaway at 8,000, or kind of a giveaway. Has to do with the Hyperspin build. And then at 10,000, I'm giving away a drive, a Hyperspin drive at 10,000. So that's going to be a nice little one, I guess. Man, I'm only at 20 health. I should probably get that. Should probably try to get that that health that I missed, or that I couldn't pick up. Okay, there's some better camera control. So yeah, guys, if you're really interested in the Super Nintendo Mini, keep tabs on nowinstock.net. Yeah, we're just under 6,000 subscribers for the giveaways. Yeah, I can't promote it enough. You know, I do have to have some goals. I try to, you know, I work quite a bit on the YouTube channel with things, and you guys are always helping me out. So I try my best to give back when I can. So we have a nice little handful of giveaways that I hope you guys are going to be excited for anyway. But yeah, we need those people smashing the subscribe button, liking the videos, viewing. That's the only way I can continue to do giveaways. Obviously, this, shit's not free. I'm not just getting handed, some of the stuff I get, I get for review purposes, but most of the stuff that I'm giving away is all stuff I paid for. And there's only, money doesn't grow on trees. So, when I get from my subscribers and viewers, I try to give back as much as I can. I wish I could give back to everybody. But obviously can't do that. But doing a giveaway here and there, that's my way of saying thank you. And I'm going to continue doing them. So I don't want this to be the channel that's just giveaways. We're just doing giveaways all the time. Just giveaways nonstop. But I'm going to, as much as I can, I'm going to be doing giveaways for you guys. Hopefully cool stuff. I'm hoping, in all honesty, if I can get my hands on 2 Super Nintendo Classics, if I can get guaranteed 2, I'm already guaranteed 1. But if I get guaranteed 2, I'm going to give 1 away on the channel as well. Because I don't need to, and I'm not a scalper. I need to make money, but I don't typically do stuff like that. I don't buy hot items and hold them hostage from people and then resell them. So if I can get my hands on an extra one, I'm going to be doing a giveaway on that as well, which I think will be freaking awesome. I did give away a Nintendo Switch on release date, so obviously doing a giveaway for a Super Nintendo Classic is pretty good too, but it's not quite on par with the Nintendo Switch. But it still should be a pretty awesome giveaway. Let me see what you're saying here. Let me take a look at the chat. Top 80s memories in order: My Babysitter with a Nose Ring, which was very edgy at the time. The movie Back to the Future. And the NES. Pretty awesome stuff. everybody's gonna, whenever there's news out there, everybody's gonna be on top of it, dropping videos. I just wanted to do a little stream action, play some games, talk about it, throw out that info out there. I mean, it's not really big information anyway. It's just, hey, Nintendo did state that pre-orders are going to be up at the end of the month. So I'm just letting you guys know to be prepared. Keep tabs on nowinstock.net. If you don't wind up doing pre-orders online, I gave what tips I could think of for going and getting it the day it comes out, which is pretty obvious stuff, not groundbreaking. But obviously, with how hot the NES Classic was, it's going to be a little tighter trying to get the SNES Classic because, like I said, I don't think the lines where I was at were crazy for the NES until later on after it was released. Then it kind of got nuts. But this time around, people are going to be prepared. So, like I said, I would try hitting up stores. If you have like a GameStop, I'm not pro GameStop. I don't, I've had a lot of negative experiences with them, but some positive as well, I guess you could say. What I do, just go in circles. But, if you know somebody, try finding out, the best you can, information on how many they're getting, shit like that. What time do they open? Try to get there as early as you can, trying to get the information that you can. Okay, we got to go to the left this time. Trying to get the information that you can in order to be better prepared. That's all you could really do to get one day one. Oh, you son of a bitch. An N64 Mini would be freaking awesome. I fully agree with that. Fully agree with that one. So the Nintendo 64 is one of my favorite systems, hands down. See, I was getting a bunch of notifications here, but nothing important. Virtual Boy Mini. Virtual Boy Mini, I don't know. There was only a handful of games that were released. I mean, who would really want that? I don't even think... it's just my opinion, but I don't, a lot of people were talking about Nintendo possibly doing like a Game Boy Classic or something like that. I don't foresee them doing that. I just see them doing their consoles. And this is what I really think that's going to happen. So we have the NES Classic, and now we're going to have the SNES Classic. All but guaranteed, we're going to have the Nintendo 64 Classic. Now, what do I think is going to happen after that? What I think is going to happen after the Nintendo 64 Classic is dropped is that they're going to reissue the NES Classic, but they're going to change up the games on it. It's just, to me, it just seems like the natural progression of things, like the same system, but they're going to add games to it. Maybe this time longer cords, put 2 controllers, shit like that. And then I foresee them doing the same exact thing with the SNES Classic, but throwing out like a different set of games, maybe the same games with a few extra ones or a complete different set of games. I don't know, but they have a good, they kind of killed it with the titles they released on these ones. But I see them doing a NES Classic Deluxe and throwing some extra games on there. SNES Classic Deluxe and throwing a few extra games on there. I see them doing that. Maybe even doing some like exclusive like games that were never released or like brand new, titles or something. And throwing them on there. Like, you get this game first, and then it'll be on, like, the Switch or something like that. Like, I see them doing stuff like that in the future. They make money. I know a lot of people are like, oh, they can't be making much money off of these. Damn it, I fell. But, yeah, they're making some good money, trust me. Nintendo does not release things or sell things for no profit. Now, maybe the store's profit margin on some of their stuff is not going to be as high, but Nintendo does make their money. So obviously, the NES Classic, they made money off of it. SNES Classic, they're going to make money off of it. So to me, it just seems like natural progression that once, I fell again, that they're going to do the same damn thing. They're going to re-release the classics, the NES and the Super Nintendo, but like a version 2, the deluxe version, that kind of thing. Because there's money to be made, man. You see how hot and how much talk goes on about these systems. To me, it's just apparent. Nintendo's going to make money. But then at the same time, Nintendo doesn't do some of the things we think are obvious that they should obviously do. Like, continue selling more and more NES classics, continue producing them. They don't do shit like that. They didn't really do it with the Amiibos. They eventually started re-upping on the Amiibos. But Nintendo doesn't always do the shit that we think. Apple Device Pro, I was supposed to be getting that case from the manufacturer, but I have not heard back from them in a short while. But I do have a pretty awesome couple of cases that are showing up pretty soon. So I can't wait to show those. And they're 2 cases that are not even yet available on the market. And they are not 3D printed cases either that I have coming up. So if they actually send me that NES case, which I think by the time I get it, it's going to be old news. But I do have 2 new cases that are not available on the market that are not 3D printed and that are from top-notch companies that I'm going to be showcasing pretty soon. Maybe one of them sometime this week. I don't know. I got to look at the shipping on it, and then the other one is shipping from Canada, and I have to keep tabs on that because it's a lot of, like, they haven't even put mine together yet, but it's like a prototype. Yeah, exactly. Nintendo, we're making money. Just stop. Let's stop. We got to slow down. But Nintendo, I mean, look at what Nintendo has done. You know, you could be a fan or not a fan of Nintendo, but they are clearly know what they're doing when it comes to making money, even though their decisions don't make sense to some of us who love the company or who want their products. But, you know, we don't know all the ins and outs of their business. But, man, you know, who would have thought them throwing out the NES Classic, killing it with all these damn Amiibos? Like, what the hell? Like, Amiibos, really? You know, they're making a hefty profit off of those damn things, man. You got to be kidding me. It's like anything they throw out there, they're making freaking money off of. They're selling out, you know. They've turned themselves around since the Wii and the Wii U. The Wii was a big hit for them, but, you know, we didn't have much for it. We didn't have anything that I was really excited about for the most part. There were still some awesome games for the system, but I think since then they've really gotten their vision together for how to do things, and some of it is going to be that false supply and demand that they create, which is unfortunate. You know, that they do that, and it's just apparent. I mean, that they want to do that kind of stuff, but it does work. You know, is it a shady business practice? I mean, I don't know if I want to say it's a shady business practice or not, but it works, and it works for them. You know, creating that you know, those issues with not supplying enough and creating the demand because things are rare, hard to come by, and all that good stuff. So that's just unfortunate that they go about it that way, but it freaking works, and it's got us all talking. Unfortunately, it's got us all talking. Wii is a great emulation machine. I had the Wii the day it came out, and I wound up getting rid of it, and then I got another one. I did play Punch-Out. Punch-Out was pretty awesome. But the power has been restored. But I never hacked my Wii. MC Ride, Last Raspberry Pi. There's a couple images that are being worked on that you guys will be seeing pretty soon. But you got to be in the Facebook group to really get tabs on that kind of stuff. I will be posting some videos, but what's my favorite game system ever? That's a tough one. Honestly, it's Super Nintendo. I mean, I had the most fondest memories with the Super Nintendo. That's why I'm really excited about the SNES Classic. But, you know, I grew up with the Atari 2600. I grew up with that, and then I got a Nintendo a little later on, in the late 80s or whatever. Oh, shit. And then I got a Super Nintendo, I think within the first year that it came out. Somewhere around there. I didn't get the Super Nintendo when it exactly came out, but Super Nintendo is definitely probably my top system of all time. Just so many classic games on it. So much awesome stuff. We had, a lot of support from Squaresoft at the time. Nintendo was killing it. The third-party support was strong, which Nintendo lost all that over time. After the Super Nintendo, they started losing third-party support like a bastard, you know what I mean? In 30 years, will we see a Nintendo Switch Mini? Anything's possible, but with a Nintendo Switch, I love the Nintendo Switch. I'll answer that in a minute, MC Ride. But I love the Nintendo Switch, but who knows in 30 years what'll happen with all that? I have no freaking clue. But I do foresee the Nintendo Switch having revisions, like smaller designs, new, stuff like that. Dang, do I still have the Seekers? Yes, I do. Oh, shit. Dude, I'm wasting them, aren't I? But yeah, MC Ride, it's the RetroPie guys policing their crap. They say that, RetroPie is not, they don't endorse piracy yet. You go to their website and they show screenshots of the software running games that are obviously illegal ROMs, and they all include emulators that are meant to play illegal ROMs. But hey, whatever. It harms their project by people showcasing what their software can do. But yes, a lot of us got copyright strikes from them. And then it was, making agreements. Hey, I won't promote or distribute images through YouTube and stuff like that. Whatever. So people still do it, and it's just a matter of time before, they get caught up in the action. I don't remember what the best way was to go about killing this guy. Don't anger the RetroPie gods. I don't do anything to anger them. If I have an opinion, that's my opinion. I don't really care, you know what I mean? If they want to, it's not even one thing about just like, hey man, can you not do this? Whatever, being civil about it. I never seen that from them. All I saw was, hey, we're going to copyright strike all your videos and try to make you lose your channel. That's all I got from them. I never got anything civil. So, and then their attacks and whatnot on other YouTubers and just the way they went about it was kind of whatever. So I have a very strong opinion of the way they went about things. I don't really care. Like I said, it is what it is. They're going to be the people they want to be, which I can't do nothing about. I mean, I still do stuff. I post tutorials and whatnot. If you guys want a heads up on projects, you got to join the Facebook group, stuff like that. But I will not post links to images on YouTube. I will not promote images at this time. If things change in the future, who knows? But there's definitely other ways of going about it. Did anyone lose their channel? Not from what I know, but I almost lost my channel. Drew Talks almost lost his channel. ETA Prime was right around the corner from it as well. We were all on the brink of losing our channels. So as far as, people that I know of, that's it. I'm sure there probably were others, because even though they said, oh, we're not targeting you, but it was like, well, I didn't hear from very many other people other than the people I just mentioned. But yeah, I mean, I'll share my opinion on it. I don't like the way they went about it. They could have went about it a little bit different. Yeah, and if there's a lot of people in the Facebook group who just have infiltrated the Facebook group just to promote their endeavors, if you would say. And we don't really have rules in the Facebook group. I don't want to say you can't go on there and promote stuff, but if your sole reason for joining my group is to promote like a YouTube channel or something like that, you don't belong. Like if you're on there and you're participating in the community, then there's no issue. Like if you want to post something, a lot of people will ask me, and I mean, it's not a big deal, but we have a lot of people. I don't mean it like somebody going on there like, hey, check out my YouTube channel. I don't mean like that, but we get a lot of people who are trying to post ads and weird shit like that. So we try to get rid of those guys. Yeah, they don't look at it that way. They look at it like they're getting negative press, and they don't want to be associated with piracy, even though that's what the sole reason for the project was to support piracy. So I don't know. I'm not those people, so I can't tell you what they think. But when you're developing something that is meant for piracy, yet you don't want people talking about it, like you said, first rule of the Retro Pi Club is you don't talk about Retro Pi. It's a shame, but I think those of us who have talked about it, who have shared images so people don't waste money, I think that's actually helped the community quite a bit. Sharing images, because people sell images all the time, and I'm not necessarily against that, but I just think some people are just raping people on that. Now, if you're doing a full setup and you're charging $20 to $40 or something on top of the cost of what you did on what you're selling, I don't know if I can really argue with that, a little setup fee, because some people, no matter what, you could say RetroPie is easy to set up, whatever. Some people don't got the time, some people don't care. So for me, it's like I don't really care if people are selling for a reasonable price, but at the same time, people who are willing and want to learn or just want to get a setup and they just want to pay, the fair price of just buying a system and getting a couple controllers, I wanted to provide that for people. Like, hey, don't waste your money buying somebody else's image. Try this out. There's other people out there doing the same thing. Try out an image. And most of the people who have taken these images from those of us who have put them out there, a lot of them have gone on to figure out the way it works, to make their own images, to tweak things, to help the community. So I think all it's done is help expand the community and make things better. It's gotten people into making themes, and the people learning how to tweak things, people making their own images with their own setups. I think it's done a lot to help the community, but they don't seem to think so. So that's their problem. I'm gonna have some stuff that we talk about on on YouTube. We're gonna be talking about. I'm gonna be doing a whole thing with building a 256 gigabyte image. I'm gonna be posting a tutorial on that using some cool stuff. But if you want more information, Facebook group is where it's at. I'm not sharing images on YouTube or anything like that. But I will be doing a tutorial showing you how I go about doing a 256 gigabyte image. Unbelievable that I died and had to start all over. Unbelievable. Just freaking unbelievable. Is my monster gone? Almost. The swine apple theme. That's what I'm talking about. And exactly, D-Sense. That's what I'm saying. Like, you have a huge internet presence, communities gathered around retro gaming, around emulating, around different projects and stuff. There's fan groups. There's just communities. There's all sorts of stuff. So it's not the day and age where you had to really be kind of hush hush about stuff. Yeah, a little custom custom stuff can be a little difficult. Missing those save states. I've only used save states when I've streamed. I've never actually, I don't know. It's not a habit of mine to use save states, even when I'm on something that supports save states. I honestly want to play the game the way it was intended. I'll do save states on like a really tough game. But this, obviously, I can't use save states, unfortunately. But that's all right. So I think I'm going to go ahead and cut it from here. You know, I might be streaming a little later on again. Yeah, save states aren't OG. I can't do save states on a Nintendo 64, so that's why I'm not using them. But what I was saying was I'm going to try to be doing a stream a little later, maybe. But I just want to talk about that with the SNES Classic. You know, Nintendo putting out their statement that they are, you know, going to be giving the go-ahead on doing pre-orders coming up toward the end of this month. So I would assume a lot of these places do them on Fridays. I'm assuming it'll be the 25th, probably that week sometime, maybe. But I would want to say we probably have at least a week of quietness or 2 weeks of quietness. And then the final couple weeks of the month, starting from like the 13th onto the 31st, we really got to be on alert if you want to get the SNES Classic. Check out nowinstock.net. Keep your browser open, alerts on, all that good stuff. Bam. So that's where it's at. I really appreciate you guys stopping by. Smash that like button. That helps me to keep going here. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. Check out my giveaway videos because we're doing some awesome giveaway videos. And we're also doing a 2 terabyte Hyperspin build. A lot of information on that on the Facebook group, and I have a video up if you want to peep that out. So take a look at that Hyperspin build. That's going to be released to the public, but you got to be part of the Facebook group to find out how and why and when and where and all that good stuff. So if you're into Hyperspin, you want an awesome build that's almost plug and play, and it works just off the bat with Xbox 360 controller. There's only one thing you really need to tweak with it in order to get it to work, and I'm going to show you how to do that. It's very simple. It's pretty much just setting the drive letter to what I have it set to. And boom, you're playing tons of freaking games. So peep that out. Peep out the Facebook group. I will catch you guys next time. Really appreciate you guys. Boom, maybe?